6:05, happy Monday morning. I know I'm posting this a little bit late, but I wanted to get everything graded before I sent this out. So all discussion posts, your assignment from last week is all graded, so your grades are up to date. And I have to say the feedback on the peer review was phenomenal. Everyone's papers were made stronger by the feedback. So you guys really, I think, understand what's going on and what needs to be done to make these capstone projects as strong as they need to be. So great job. So including this week, we have 4 weeks left in 6:05, and it is a countdown, but not in a bad way. And so I want to start this week with a quote that most people know: "Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop to look around once in a while, you can miss it." And that's from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And it's a quote that I think almost everyone knows, even if they haven't seen the movie. But it's such a true thing that it's easy to focus on all the little things and not slow down and just pause. And so I'd say for specifically for this class, there are a lot of tasks in the next 4 weeks, a lot of things that need to be completed. And that's important. Focus on the tasks, but not just on those tasks, but also take time to process what you're learning and what you're pursuing, and be proud of that and enjoy it. So let's jump into week 5. This should be a little bit of a shorter weekly announcement video. For the topics for this week, you're editing chapter 2 for final submission, taking into account that feedback you've gotten. Please reach out. I know a lot of you do via email, and continue to do that. And you're also going to be working some on your data analysis, finding the themes there. So your task for this week: finalize chapter 2, we just talked about. Continue building your chapter 4 and looking at assignment 3, which is due week 6. So we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Once again, the text for this week, we just move on to chapter 12 in the Bassett text. And so there's a lot of good information in there. It's not too long of a chapter, but the thoughts and ideas that he presents there should just frame out what you're doing this week. So just one chapter, 2 entries in for discussion questions, your reflection journal, which I enjoy every week. There's great discussion around those, and I would say keep that up. I would venture to say there's just as much learning going on there as in your capstone projects that you're working on. And then initial findings. So there's a second discussion question this week. So we're halfway point for the term. So post your research questions and bullet point some of your initial thoughts or findings to those questions based on your triangulation of your data. So take your research questions and then bullet point some of those thoughts, questions. What are some strategies that have worked for you to triangulate your data? So the point of this question is not only get your research questions out there for others to see, but for them to give you feedback on strategies that they've used that you maybe haven't. And so it's a sharing of that. Remember, Thursday for your initial post, and Sunday for at least 2 posts to peers. And those can't just be agreement statements, but actually further the conversation. So the assignments for this week: reflection journal entry, initial findings, and then assignment 2, which I'll talk about the assignments here in a second. Week 6, there's no text, no articles, no videos. You have 1 discussion post, which is your reflection, and assignment 3, which is your reflective findings, your discussions, and your appendices. So once again, we'll talk about those in just a minute. All that information that I just gave you is the same information on the week 5 section. Your topics, your tasks, your journals, and the assignment for the week. So let's jump into the 2 assignments that we're going to go over. Assignment 2 is due this Sunday, and it is your final chapter 2 review of literature. And so you worked on it in the last course. You just got peer review feedback. So go through that with a fine-tooth comb and really get it dialed in. It's a big one. It's worth 60 points. That's a lot in this class. So make sure all those little details are getting hit, that your APA is completely tight. I would highly recommend, using Grammarly. If you need help with that, let me know. I would even recommend submitting it to the writing lab and getting feedback there, because this is the big one. As far as this goes, you've now submitted pieces of this 2 or 3 different times. And so this is the final one. And this is the rubric. It's not a giant rubric, so it's really easy to go through. So introduction, the major ideas of author, theorist, and professionals, professional sources. Remember, 16 sources is the goal, at least, and I think you all are there. A well-organized presentation of the literature, and the lit review provides a paraphrased account of the synthesized ideas. So those are the areas, and with you guys, I expect almost everything to be all the way over to the right in the highly developed area. So this isn't really new, it's just shining it up and making sure it's exactly what you want it to be. So that's due this Sunday. Week 6 is chapter 4, and so we'll go over this in more detail next week. But know that this is kind of putting those bits and pieces together. And a new part of this would be your appendices, your discussion questions, and your findings. So if you have any questions after you read through this, I would say this week, just read through. I'm not going to read through all the text here, but read through all of that. And if you have questions, shoot me an email. And the one thing that's a little bit different here, it has multiple rubrics. So there's a rubric for the appendices, and there's a rubric for the reflective findings and discussion. So they're a little bit different there. Other than that, that is week 5. As always, if you have questions, reach out. You can call, text, you can email. I don't want you sitting there not knowing what to do, so just reach out if you have anything. And have a great week.